welcome to the Mays MasterCast. I'm your host, Ben Wiggins. It is, as usual, a beautiful day in Aggieland. The vision of the Mays MasterCast is to connect prospective members to our Mays community by painting the picture of Aggieland through different voices and perspectives. We're excited for our guest today. Will Hayes is a certified financial planner, a professional who works primarily with business owners on their personal and business financial planning needs. He also holds his Chartered Financial Consultant, CHFC, and Chartered Life Underwriter, CLU designations. Originally from Americus, Georgia, Will graduated from Georgia Southwestern State University, where he played tennis and studied business management. He moved to College Station in 2010, where his wife, Allison, completed her degree in finance at Texas A&M. Since moving to Bryan College Station, Will has built his financial planning practice and in 2018 founded the local 1 Million Cups chapter for business owners and entrepreneurs to connect and share their stories over coffee each week. And Will and his wife now have 3 beautiful daughters. Let's get into the episode. We welcome Will Hayes to the show. Thanks for joining us today, Will.
Thrilled to be here. Thanks, Ben.
It's great. You're originally not from Texas, but from Georgia. What was your plan when you were coming here?
That's a great question. So for me, the plan was actually first and foremost to go after the prettiest Aggie in town, my wife, Allison.
Nice.
And that worked out really well. She and I are celebrating 10 years of marriage this week.
Well done. Well done. A good recruiter, it would seem.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we met overseas actually, and I've visited here and we started dating long distance. I'd fallen in love with her first and then Aggieland second.
Yeah.
And so when I graduated a year before her, I came out here because she was finishing up her finance degree at A&M. And so my number one goal was to get here and ended up finding a job at A&M just to buy the time till we figured out next steps and ended up sticking around. So that was my first plan.
What was it like to be starting kind of your own thing in a new place, pretty early on? What was that like?
Yeah, it's sort of a fascinating thing because like I said, my first goal was to be here close to her. I was from this small town in South Georgia and had never lived in Texas, didn't get to go to Texas A&M or anything like that. But once I got here, I knew I wanted to be in business and more specifically in financial planning. And so when I got out here, really started meeting people and trying to connect and build it, and really was drawn to connect with Northwestern Mutual because it is a national brand that at that time was over 150 years old. And so that was really attractive to me, just from a standpoint of affiliating with this well-known company and this brand that was recognized and respected, and then just get to work on building connections and relationships and build my competence at that point.
And how did that turn out? Like, what has surprised you about the evolution of all that? What's subverted your expectations? What was easier than you thought it would be? What was harder than you thought it would be?
That's a great question. I think that for me, really, some of it was blind faith. Going forward, I had vision. I just expected it to work out. And I've sort of joked looking back that if I was interviewing myself 11 years ago this month, I don't know if I would have hired myself.
Oh, okay.
Just sitting there looking and saying, I don't know that you have the relationships, the experience, anything like that coming into the business world at, I guess, 22 years old at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Left a lot of opportunity to grow and learn. But for me, I think some of it looking back there was definitely a lot of opportunities to learn and grow. And some of that came easier than others, but it was a challenge. It almost didn't work out in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But just showing up with a long-term vision of being around and succeeding has worked out okay.
What were the most important ways that you changed or that the business changed?
Yeah, good question. And I think that for me, the business really has been something that is in an environment that's changing all the time, with financial planning and investments and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Technology's changed that, in the marketplace, a lot of things going virtual. But really, I think that the core aspect of just human nature is the same. People want to connect with someone they trust, that they enjoy working with, that they find value in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that really finding the opportunities to do that for people and bring more value than I was receiving compensation is what it was all about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you ended up affiliated with the Maroon and White.
That's right.
After all, how did that all come to pass?
Yeah. So my journey with Texas A&M is kind of interesting. I'm not an Aggie in the sense of getting to go here and graduate undergrad or master's, but I'm an adopted Aggie, as my wife tells me. And so coming to school here, she was just fell in love with this community and had a ton of support and just some great relationships and friendships. And so when I came out here for her to finish school, there were actually times I'd visit and I would come, connect with, she'd invite me to some of her classes, and the professors would say, come on in and join us. And had a great experience just getting exposure to the university. But even when I came here and worked, I worked at the vet school, interestingly enough. Fun fact that I was at the vet school pharmacy for a few months while she was finishing her program. Yeah. And there's a tunnel that goes from the vet school over to West Campus under University Drive. And so my wife told me, hey, there's actually going to be a career fair at Mays. You should come check it out. And so I walked under the tunnel, came up here and, joined her before lunch at the career fair and met some different companies, and Northwestern Mutual was one of them. I had the opportunity to come back and guest lecture and speak at some of the classes and clubs at Mays over the years. And then had the opportunity, there's a financial planning program, a CFP program at Texas A&M University that Nathan Harness runs, and had the opportunity to do the coursework for that and end up getting my CFP back in 2017. And so I do have a Texas A&M certificate on my wall, but my wife asked me if I'm going to go back and get an MBA. We'll see.
Interesting. You've mentioned Aggieland, and obviously the Aggie network is known for its reliability and connectivity. What has all of that done for you, and what is it like accessing sort of the Aggie spirit, I guess, the Aggie kind of culture, coming in as someone who was originally an outsider?
Absolutely. So one of the early stories that was really funny is back when I'd first come to visit my now wife. She took me to a football game, and we went to buy one of the CC Creations tent sales and picked up some swag. And so she got me this Texas A&M long sleeve t-shirt, and I was flying back home into Atlanta, which is one of the busiest airports in the world. I'll never forget, I was coming into Terminal E and going down one of these 5 escalators that are all just backed up with people. And I see this man in his 80s that kind of looks up and sees my t-shirt, and he starts walking backwards against the flow of traffic on the escalator with his hand extended. He has this big gold ring on his hand, and his wife's like, honey, what are you doing? And he comes up and introduces himself, and I'm on the escalator next to him, and he's like going out of his way to come say hello. Yeah. And I didn't have the heart to tell him I wasn't an Aggie, but it was my first taste of the Aggie spirit and the Aggie network and just what it means to people. And then coming here was a little intimidating for me. A lot of people feel like College Station is this sleepy little town. But for me, coming from a small town of Americus, Georgia, this was a small city and a little intimidating. But once I got here, I realized that the core values of business are the same no matter where you are. And even being from a small town, I think was an advantage for me because it really solidified the idea that it's not just what you know, it's who you know. Yeah. And relationships matter and community matters. And so I believe that Aggies get that. They understand that relationships are important, and it's not just getting a world-class education. It's also building connections, building relationships, getting to know other people, and being able to help each other out. And that really is something that I came to find in Bryan College Station and in the Aggie network, was that's what it's all about. I've had Aggies continue to go out of their way to help me and connect me. And I'm really grateful for that. That's made this home for us and somewhere that we see ourselves for the rest of our lives.
What game did she invite you to?
It was in 2008.
Oh, maybe we don't need. Oh, I don't know. That season didn't go so well.
It was, I believe, Kansas State.
Okay, I don't remember if we won.
I don't remember either. I was more focused on her than the game.
I definitely understand. With Northwestern Mutual, you specialize in helping small business owners. What approach do you take to help them and their companies succeed?
Yeah, I found that over the years, as I continued to meet different people, business owners are who I really enjoyed starting to connect with, personality-wise, and all these things. I found that business owners oftentimes are some of the loneliest people in the world, for lack of a better word. What I mean by that is that on a day-to-day basis, business owners are running 100 miles an hour. They're working hard. Yeah. A client of mine told me the best part about being a business owner is you get to choose which 18 hours of the day you work. And being a business owner is something that inherently if you don't, especially don't have partners, you can't talk to just anyone about what's going on. Mm-hmm. Every business owner has their own challenges, and oftentimes those are challenges you can't talk to your employees about. You don't want to talk to your spouse about all the time or stress them out. You don't want to necessarily talk to friends that don't own a business because they hear that you signed $1 million contract and they think you have $1 million in the bank.
Right.
And you're trying to figure out how you're going to make payroll next week.
Yeah.
And so I found that being a trusted advisor is something that I understood. I have 7 family members that are financial advisors. I joke everyone in my family was either a school teacher, a financial advisor, or in the military, or some combination. But getting into financial advising, really, I found that you're going deep with people talking about money. Because as people talk about their money, you're talking about goals and dreams, you're talking about the good and the bad. And oftentimes that confidential place to talk and have a conversation is where they find the opportunity to talk to someone and go deeper with me. And so I find that actually, above all else, just being a relationship of someone who knows what they have going on, what they're working towards, and where they have been is incredibly powerful. And just being there when they need us. A lot of that we saw really clearly over the last few years when COVID was hitting and we were starting to call clients. And of course, there's the normal things you would think of a financial advisor or planner helping with the business owners, different types of tools and planning ideas. But what I found is the value really came in reaching out and connecting with those people and saying, how are you doing? And some people would say, we're doing really well. And some people would say, well, we're scared to death. We don't know what's going to happen. Maybe we're shut down right now, or we're afraid we're going to be. We don't know how we're going to keep our employees. They're really just sharing these things with us. And that became a really important thing that we realized, just the opportunity to be there with clients and to help them any way we could. And that doesn't always look like doing things in the financial realm. Sometimes that's being a connector. Sometimes that's being an encourager.
Who is the absolute ideal client, like best person you could meet? What stage of the business?
Yeah.
Is there an industry that you look for in particular? Like who's the you walk out and professional, like you trip over each other in the hallway. Who's the person?
Yeah, I have two thoughts on that, but what comes to mind is a client that is a buffalo. And what I mean by that is a few years ago, I was calling clients, and I'll never forget, I spoke to a lady up in the Waco area who's an Aggie, and she's been a business owner for over 15 years. Mm-hmm. And this is right in the thick of quarantine and lockdown. Yeah. And I said, how are you doing? Is everything okay? And she said, we're okay. We're going to make it. I said, are y'all able to still doing business right now? She said, no, we're not. We're pretty much sitting and waiting. I said, well, how do you have such a good attitude about this? And she said, well, we're actually going to try and expand into a new business opportunity right now because we see a way to keep working.
Sure.
And I'm thinking, here you are at this season of your life and your business, and you're not just in survival mode. You're actually looking at opportunities and solving problems and continuing to grow.
Sure.
And I said, tell me about that. Like, how are you doing this? She said, Will, I learned a long time ago that you can either be a cow or a buffalo. And she said, I live out on a ranch and I have horses and cows, and animals are stupid. She said, these cows they'll lay down when a storm's coming. You'll have this huge storm come. It's hailing, lightning, thundering. And
animals are stupid. Welcome to the Mays MasterCast.
And she said, well, either they'll lay down or they'll run from the storm. And she said, a cow can't outrun a storm. Right. But she said, you can go look this up. She said, God made buffalo different. When the storm comes across the hill, the buffalo will charge into the storm so they pop out the other side faster. And she said, so I decided a long time ago, I'm going to be a buffalo.
Okay.
I said, you're now my favorite person ever. So every email she sends me now, she says, be a buffalo. And as I've started to go out and just realize that oftentimes business owners are either cows or buffaloes. And so I would say I enjoy working with buffaloes that are problem solvers. They're out there. They don't give up. They just continue to push forward and find a way. Mm-hmm. And so oftentimes that can be a lot of different industries, but those are people we enjoy connecting with.
Sure. Be a buffalo.
Be a buffalo.
You also launched Bryan College Station's local 1 Million Cups chapter.
Yeah.
First of all, what is 1 Million Cups? And second, where did the inspiration for that come from?
Great. So 1 Million Cups is a weekly gathering for entrepreneurs and business owners, community members, community leaders to connect and meet each other, build relationships over coffee. And so started by the Kauffman Foundation years ago. And so we looked to bring this. I found out about it in a different community where I was working with some clients, and someone introduced me to it, and I went and joined and just visited, I should say. And after one time attending, I said, this is a no-brainer for Bryan College Station. And so brought the idea back and started connecting with some different community members that I respected, and said, this is the idea of it. We would get together every Wednesday. We would get to just connect with each other over coffee. And then we'd have one business owner share their story every single week. And it's a 5-minute presentation of their business. And then there's question and answer from the community. So the community can take the conversation wherever they want it to go. And there's no cost. There's no commitment. There's no sign up or membership. It's sort of the front porch of the business community.
Yeah.
And so the idea of starting that was that if enough of those community members thought it was a good idea, we would do it. If they all told me I was crazy, we probably wouldn't do it. But in my mind, it was a no-brainer. And so most everyone said, I think this is a great idea. I'm behind it.
I was waiting for you to tell me everyone said no, but you thought it was, so you did it anyway.
I wasn't asking them for money, so I think they felt good about the idea. But ultimately, that's where we had the opportunity to really get it going and launch and have some people come behind it. And so in 2018, we launched on February 14th because we love Aggieland. And then we started meeting every Wednesday, and we've been meeting now for over 4 years and get together every Wednesday morning.
That's great. Anyone you'd like to send some good bull?
Yeah, a lot of people, more than we have time, but definitely good bull to Matt Prohaska and CEO of the BV EDC. And
good friend of the show.
Good friend of the show and a good friend of mine. And then Rodrigo Chavez, owner of What's the Buzz Coffee, who said from day one, we're going to make sure you have the best coffee possible every week. And Matt was a great connector. Caleb Holt, CEO of Make Safe Tech and Axlebox, was a connector early on. Blake Petty and Laura Hughes with Startup Aggieland actually helped provide space early on for us, and a number of other people that have been there every year, including yourself, who's our official coffee creamer sponsor.
I do bring the creamer.
He brings the fancy creamer.
Yeah.
So not just that plain stuff. So.
Yeah. It's, I like the zero sugar stuff, which probably means it's loaded up with a bunch of other.
It's got to be good for you.
But
it's got to be healthy.
But yeah, we do we do like the hazelnut, we do the French vanilla, we do the Italian sweet cream.
You're a seasonal guy. It depends if you're pumpkin spice in the fall, kind of transition to peppermint.
My wife would be thrilled to hear you say that. I'm not sure I have done the peppermint. Yeah. I don't know if the creamer.
I'm a black coffee guy, so I haven't tried any of those, but they look really fancy.
You're a stronger man than I am. I can't do the black coffee. Also, that I love Rodrigo's coffee, but man, I have to I have to mix it with some of my decaf from the morning. Octane. Otherwise, I will be slamming off the walls. That stuff is
that's how we get stuff done.
Yeah, good. I guess so.
I am curious. I know you've been attending 1 Million Cups for a little while now, and curious kind of what's been a value that you've taken away, or something that encourages you to carve that out of your week on a Wednesday morning.
I think kind of what you said, it's the basic value proposition of it's no cost, no commitment. And the core question is always, how can we as a community help you and help your business? And just hearing the opportunity, hearing different people talk about what they really need. And then for me, it's been, I've always been surprised at how often I actually do have an answer that could help somebody else. Yeah. We had several people last week raise their hands in the meeting and say, "Hey, here's what I'm looking for." And 2 or 3 times I remember thinking, I can help out with that. Yeah. And so, and I did, and it makes me feel good to contribute in that way, but also to see others contributing in that way. And it's very, at the risk of using an MBA buzzword, it's very synergistic, and I think 1 Million Cups is a good opportunity to see it done right. And there's no hard sell. Like the feel of the meetings is just so chill. Everybody's just hanging out, and really good stuff comes out of it all the same. So I really appreciate the vibe. Having done a lot of different a lot of different stuff kind of around the financial sector, and having lived in LA for a few years. In LA, like, everybody's got a hustle, and to some degree, everything is a hustle.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot to love about the West Coast and about the city of Los Angeles. I miss that place a lot, but there are certain things that I don't miss. And one of those things is you're in every conversation, somebody is selling and somebody is being sold. And that I just appreciate being part of a community where that is less true.
That's really neat to hear. And I think that's ultimately the goal. Certainly, I feel like it aligns well with the Texas A&M culture and this generous attitude that's not all altruistic, but it's also, how can I give first? Not waiting till I've been successful to give back.
Right.
But knowing that we all have gifts and abilities and resources and relationships that we can help connect each other with right now. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely true. And if everybody takes a give first approach, we all win. I mean, it's pretty self-evident. So
it's been helpful for this community and this ecosystem, because a lot of people, I'm amazed how many people show up to 1 Million Cups that have just moved here from out of town, or they're Aggies that have moved back, that maybe they sold a business and are moving back, or they're transitioning, and some incredible and fascinating people are showing up out of the blue. And that's always a really rewarding thing, just to get to meet new people and hear their stories.
Sure. And it's working. Like, the meetings are getting bigger and bigger. And we had to contend with COVID for a year and a half. And it's, but to see the chapter's sort of a misnomer, because it's, there's not really an expectation of membership or anything, but to see the group growing and, to see different types of business come in. People will take a few weeks off, and then they'll show back up, and you get to hear the new stuff that they're involved with. It's it's a lot of fun. What's next for you? Where can our listeners keep up with what you're doing? What are you getting into now?
Yeah, great question. We just had our third daughter about 4 months ago, so that's keeping me pretty busy at home.
Yeah,
but
imagine.
On the business front, thank you. We're continuing to grow our team and just try and serve our clients in this community as well as we can. And for 1 Million Cups, we're building back the organizing team and seeking to really have that take on a life of its own, and not just rely on any one person, but be something that belongs to this community and this ecosystem, and continue to grow, to help as many people as possible. And so we see a lot of opportunity for that, and excited for this conversation just to get some more information out there. And so people can definitely check out 1millioncups.com/college station, or check us out on social media.
Yeah. Will, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate you joining us. It's our pleasure having you here.
Thanks so much, Ben.
Thank you for watching. We appreciate your support. Drop us a like below, and feel free to leave a comment if you wish. We appreciate positivity and constructive feedback. Don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date on our latest episodes and bonus content. You can also take us on the road using your favorite podcast listening app. We have those linked below. If you'd like to know more about Mays Business School or our guests, visit mays.tamu.edu/podcasts. Talk with you soon.